my name is Natalie. Today I wanted to do a chat about reading goals and specifically my reading goals for the year. So when you see this, I will be in Italy. I will be spending the entire or most of the month of July in Italy, and I leave on the 8th of July and will be away until the 3rd, I think. Me and my family always go during the summer to Italy. We've done this thing for several years in a row, so it's a regular thing for me, but it means just spending a lot of time by the ocean, to spend a lot of time reading and eating a lot of good food. So it's just a really casual, a really chill time for me to just enjoy the summer and to eat a lot of good food alongside with that, because I love Italian food and I love all of the fresh fruits and everything like that. So this video is not a love letter to Italy, although that's definitely something I feel. But when you see this, I will be away because I'm pre-filming to fill up my absence. So if I'm sort of late in responding to comments, that's the reason. But today I wanted to talk about reading goals as this sort of mid-year check-in with the goals that I set for 2019 and some of my reading plans in relation to my reading goals in the second half of the year. So I looked back on my reading goals and realized that although they are still important to me, I think that there are still things that I would like to change in the way that I sort of follow through with them. So the first goal that I set for myself was to revisit authors that I'd enjoyed in the past. So basically authors that I'd read something by and really enjoyed and wanted to explore more of their backlist. This is something that I wanted to make as a challenge because I realized that although I often find authors that I really like and that I would like to explore further, I'm not always the best at actually doing that. When I've found an author that I like, I think that I often feel like I know already that I like them, and so I sort of don't prioritize exploring more of their works. There are a lot of authors that I've read one book by and really like their writing style or something about them, like the kind of themes that they explore in their writing might appeal to me, and then I think that I will love more of their works, but I often don't actually fulfill those plans. So this goal was meant to propel me in that direction, to actually dive deeper into a few authors that I've really enjoyed. I started the year off with my Salinger January because the 1st of January this year was the 100-year anniversary for Salinger. So I celebrated through reading all of his works in January. So I really enjoyed kicking off the year in that way, to bring actually two of my goals into the first month of the year. Aside from my Salinger reading, I have revisited Samanta Schweblin, who wrote Fever Dream. I read her new collection, Mouthful of Birds, this year. I have read the second book in the Murder Most Unladylike series by Robin Stevens, Arsenic for Tea, that I really enjoyed. And then I think the only other author that I've revisited this year is J.R.R. Tolkien, and that's because I've finished through the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So obviously I haven't been reading more or revisiting a lot of authors this year. Most of my reading this year has been by new authors, and I think this is a shame because this goal still means a lot to me, and therefore I am planning to make some reading plans for the second half of the year. I think in particular I am planning definitely to be reading my last Shirley Jackson book, or my last Shirley Jackson novel. When I've read the Sundial, I will be finished with Shirley Jackson's novels, so I definitely want to read the Sundial before the end of the year. Another author that I definitely know that I want to read more of, and that I'm thinking I might do something similar like Salinger January, just starting in September, is to read through Siri Hustvedt's books. Part of that is because I just want to read all of Siri Hustvedt's works, and I've read the Blindfold and What I Loved, and both of them I really liked. I love her writing, even though I don't always agree with her characters or necessarily get on with her characters. So I have been wanting to read through Siri Hustvedt's entire bibliography for a long time, and this year I've been collecting a lot of her books. So whenever I've been to secondhand shops, I've been looking for her books, and have actually found several of them during the year. So I am planning to read through as many books basically as I can, or either that or read through all of her novels. A new reason has just appeared in that there's a book fair every year in Gothenburg. That is, I think, the biggest in Scandinavia, and I am definitely planning on going, and I went last year and actually did a vlog of it. And this year Siri Hustvedt is coming to speak. Because she is coming to the book fair, I wanted to sort of read through her books in preparation and in excitement for that. So I will definitely be vlogging the book fair, because there's a lot of people that's coming there that I am so excited for, and I'm not gonna go into any details here because this is not a book fair love letter either. So yeah, so I know for sure that I will be prioritizing this reading goal. I want to at least get through Shirley Jackson and Siri Hustvedt this year, and maybe I will try to get through a few others as well. And also I have sort of a plan to read through more of J.R.R. Tolkien's works as well. So I think this goal will probably be more of a priority in the next coming months, hopefully. The second reading goal that I had for 2019 was to reread more. So this linked with my Salinger January, because most of my Salinger reading was actually rereading. The only book that I hadn't read by him prior to this year was Race High, the Roofbeams, Carpenters, and Seymour, an Introduction. So the other three books I was rereading. My rereading goal was mainly to make it more of a regular part of my reading, to not feel like I was missing out by putting time towards rereading, to remove this idea in my mind that rereading would be sort of lost time or not as efficient, an efficient way of reading, to just approach it in a new way and to take away all of the distinction between those things, because a lot of the time I think a reread can give something completely different from the first time. Obviously it depends on the book. So that was my goal for this, and I have to say I haven't really been doing well with that. Obviously I have not been able to break down the distinction because I haven't been prioritizing it, and that's exactly my problem, and has been for a long time. I have never been a big rereader. I know a lot of people on BookTube have fond memories of rereading a lot of their favorite books as a child, or even now rereading the Harry Potter books several times, maybe even constantly be rereading them. And I have no issues with rewatching movies. I do that all the time. But for some reason, rereading has never really come naturally to me. There are only 2 books that I reread for most of my life. But as I said, I have reread the Salinger books at the beginning of the year, and I have also reread recently The Faster I Walk, the Smaller I Am by Kjersti and Skomsvold. Part of the thing that is still a problem with my rereading as a priority is just that I have too many unread books, so they always take priority in my mind. I feel slightly guilty by reading something that isn't an unread book on my shelves, and just revisiting a book that I've already read for some reason, even though I have no problems with reading books from the library and reading like using script apps and things like that. That would also be the exact same as rereading my own books. It would also be as inefficient, as as an inefficient way of dealing with my unread books. So I'm not really sure why I allow that kind of thinking to go into my head. I think one thing that I want to do to make rereading more natural to me is to mix my books from, right now I have my TBR and my read books separate, and I separated them a few years ago when everyone did that on BookTube, and I thought it was a really good way of making it obvious which books I had to read. It was a good thing, I think, at first, but since the majority of my books now are unread books, it's not really necessary anymore. It isn't really useful anymore, and I have actually a pretty good idea of my shelves. That's actually something that I always find funny when I buy books in secondhand shops. Usually the reception is very bad, so I usually cannot connect to the internet through the phone, so I have to know which books I own to be able to buy them in secondhand shops. And surprisingly, I have a pretty good idea, so I think I've only accidentally bought duplicates of my books like twice. Mixing them together would probably allow me to change slightly the way that I think of read and unread books, to make rereading as vital to my reading as I want it to be. Often when I finish a book, I think that I will like this more when I've reread it, because there were too many questions at the first reading, and I feel like I will be able to appreciate it in a new way when I know all of the story. Engaging with my books, I want that to be more of a central part of my reading. The other thing is that I'm planning to make a goal for the rest of the year to reread one book per month. I think I need to get into the habit of doing so, so that it becomes more of a natural thing for me through habit. So I am planning to make it a habit, and I will just try to find one book per month that I want to reread. There are a lot of them. The last reading goal that I had for 2019 was my nonfiction reading challenge, and all of you probably are familiar with this challenge at this point, but I created basically a bingo card of 16 nonfiction challenges. Things like read a new release, read a debut nonfiction, read a popular science book, that kind of thing. I don't know if you can see this. I have someone who's really hungry, so I need to sort of wrap this up. But I am planning to do as many challenge-specific videos as I can for the rest of the nonfiction reading challenge. Some of them will probably be coming towards the later part of August, when I'm back from Italy and have read a few of my nonfiction reading challenge things for summer. And I think when I can, I will try to do the kind that I've done for the sports nonfiction challenge, for the biographies of inspiring women. I like to engage with the nonfiction reading challenge constantly, both for myself and also to spread the love for nonfiction, because I feel like even though there are a lot of booktubers out there who love nonfiction, it's still definitely much less read and talked about on BookTube than fiction, and I'm always surprised by that, but I definitely want to do my part in adding to the nonfiction love. I have also started thinking about the 2020 nonfiction challenge, and I already have a few plans. I will obviously talk more about that when we get closer to the end of the year, but just know that the nonfiction challenge will be coming back next year, and it will come back with new challenges. So I think I will leave it at that. I hope all of you are having a really good day and a great summer so far, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!